Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to the whole house of Yasha'al, to the whole Ba'it of Yasha'al, all 12 tribes, wherever your feet are touching the soil, on this most Kadush, this most set apart, this most separated day, which is not just simply a day. This day is Yahuwah, because Yahuwah is the eternal Shabbat. This day as well, it identifies him as the eternal Shabbat, and it identifies him as the Elohim of creation. Moreover, it identifies his people as his covenant people, as it is the Shabbat day that joins us into covenant with him. Shabbat Shalom to you and your entire house, wherever your feet are touching the soil, wherever you're listening under the sound of my voice on this most Kadush, this most separated day. To the elder brother, Yehuda, to the younger brother, Ephraim, to the former stranger, the former foreigner, who was formerly estranged from the everlasting covenant, but having received the Ruach of adoption, the Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach, whereby having been engrafted into the olive tree, who is Yahushua, who is Yasha'al, and now whereby being privy to the same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance that was given to Yasha'al and to Yasha'al alone. Shabbat Shalom to you. Peace and blessings. Shalom and Barak'u to you and your entire house, wherever your feet are touching the soil, wherever you are listening under the sound of my voice. Shabbat Shalom to you. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. To those of you who are on YouTube, who will hear this teaching, this message, this proclamation later on, once again, we welcome you to YAHUAH'S Remnant Shabbat Gathering. If this is your first time listening and you're asking yourself, who is or what is YAHUAH'S Remnant? Well, first off, I can tell you what and who we are not. We are not some church. We are not some 501(c) organization. We're not some camp, and we're not some ministry. We simply are who we are, and that is YAHUAH'S Remnant Assembly, of whom he is gathering in this end time season, in this Moadai, at this appointed time, during this consummation of the times, during this final season. We are his remnant people, of whom he's gathering from the four corners of the earth, sealing with the seal of the living Elohim, which is to say the Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach, the greater separation, of whom he is calling out of darkness into his marvelous light, sealing us with the seal of the living Elohim, sending forth voices, crying out in the wilderness, shepherds, shalach ones, sent to gather sheep, to bring them back within the safety of the confines of his fence, a holding area, if you will, a point of embarkation, awaiting the ark of the covenant, waiting to board it. It has indeed been seen, waiting to board it, to take us to Mount Zion, to give us a song, where we will be given a song that no one else can sing, delivering us and saving us from the hour of trial, otherwise called Yahuwah's distress, otherwise called Yahuwah's trouble, otherwise what the Christians call the Great Tribulation. This is who we are. We are YAHUAH'S Remnant. There is not many of us. There's not supposed to be many of us. If there were more, then we would not be a remnant. This is who we are. This is who the Master has been speaking to. He is speaking only to a remnant people. And so, if you're here, listening, here on YouTube, or here live, if this is your first time, then perhaps you are YAHUAH'S remnant, as indeed his sheep hear his voice, and another voice they will not follow. Welcome to you. To those of you who are on YouTube and those of you who are live with us for the first time, welcome to YAHUAH'S Remnant. I am Dawood ben Yahuwah, and this is my Aisha, which is to say wife, Ashayah.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Once again, to those of you who on YouTube, if you have a desire to join us live for either our 4th day or midweek gatherings or our Shabbat gatherings, when this video, when this teaching, this message, this proclamation has been uploaded to YouTube, there will be an email address located in the video description box of this video. Please use it. If you have a desire to fellowship with us live, we would sincerely love to hear from you. We would sincerely love to speak with you. If you have a desire to join us live, either for our 4th day gatherings, our midweek gatherings, otherwise what man calls Wednesday, or our Shabbat gathering. There's only one Shabbat. There's only one eternal Shabbat. Otherwise what man calls Saturday. This is the eternal Shabbat. The Shabbat day has never changed. If you have a desire to join us, to fellowship with us live on either one of those days, please utilize that email address that is going to be located in the video description box. We would love to hear from you. Nevertheless, there is a word from the Master. There is a word from the Master for his remnant people, only for his remnant people. This message is for no one else. Please hear him. These messages, they're not for anyone else. I haven't been sent to anyone else. Hear him. I have been sent. He has sent me. He has called me. He has chosen me. He has sent me. He has sent me to a remnant people and to a remnant people alone. Because only his remnant people will see. Only his remnant people will be given ears to hear and a heart to understand. Thus, there is a message this day. A message from the Master for his remnant people. For his remnant people alone. Lately, the Master has been speaking to his remnant people about a greater separation. About a greater separation. Indeed, a greater separation has begun. A greater separation unlike the earth has ever seen before. There was a great separation during the time of the flood, of the great flood, where there were 8 righteous beings that were separated from 700,000+ unrighteous ones who perished during the flood. Unrighteous ones, not counting the beasts and not counting the Nephilim that were plaguing the land, the Nephilim and the giants and the monsters that were plaguing the land, not counting them. Not counting them. But that indeed was a great separation. And where there were 8 righteous beings separated unto life, separated from destruction, separated from death. That indeed was a great separation. The Master has spoken that right before the last Feast of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacle, he spoke to his servants that, behold, I do a great separation. And over the course of this past year, indeed, we have seen, if you have eyes to see, we have seen a great separation. We indeed have seen a great separation. But right before this past Sukkot, the Master, he calls us to take another sharp turn. And this may perhaps be the last sharp turn that we take before his people are gathered to be saved, to be delivered from the hour of trial. But he spoke this time right before the Feast of Sukkot, that he's doing a greater separation. That now we are in the midst, we are in a season of a greater separation, an unprecedented greater separation. How so? Because there is destruction coming upon the earth. There is another destruction coming upon the earth. Indeed, the destroyer is coming. Indeed, death is getting ready to manifest himself. Indeed, as Yahuwah is life, and life manifested himself in flesh. Hasatan being a copycat. As Yahuwah is life, he is death. And he is getting ready to manifest himself to come and claim what is his. To kill, to steal, and destroy. No different than when Yahuwah, life, put on flesh to come and gather his portion, his firstborn, his first fruit, the best of the oil, the best of the wine, the best of the portion that splits the womb, the best of the first that comes from the soil. He came for the best. He came for his firstborn, his Yaqub, his only begotten, the apple of his eye. He came for his portion. And so Hasatan, being a copycat, as he is life, he is death. As Yahuwah is righteousness, he is unrighteousness. As Yahuwah is light, he is darkness. And so hear him. Death is getting ready to manifest himself, and he's coming to the earth at an unprecedented time of chaos, darkness, death, and mayhem. Hell is coming with him. When he comes to this earth in a short while, when death manifests himself, it's in the text. It is. It's in the text. It's in the scriptures. Death is getting ready to manifest himself, and hell is coming with him. And he's coming to gather his portion. He's coming to gather his portion. And so we are now, as we have a compassionate Elohim, we serve a compassionate and a loving Elohim. He has been proclaiming his words with a fervent urgency to whomever has eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to understand. He has been sending forth a great shaking in the midst of the earth. His word has gone forth in power. His word has gone forth in truth. His word has gone forth in boldness to call a remnant people out of darkness into his marvelous light. That remnant people is that greater separation. The remnant people is that greater separation who are being separated in this season from 7+ billion people. 7+ billion people. If you've not heard anything else, 7+ billion people. And from that 7+ billion people, 144,000 of a greater separation that the Master has spoken of and earmarked to bring on board his Ark of the Covenant to save from the hour of trial, YAHUAH'S distress, YAHUAH'S trouble that is soon to come upon this earth. So if you subtract 144,000 from 7+ billion people, you're still left with 7+ billion people. You're still left there with 7+ billion people who are going to be left to the hour of trial. And the text declares that Hasatan, death, manifested in flesh, is going to be given the power to overcome them. That Hasatan is going to have the power over all flesh to destroy all flesh. And if those days are not shortened, no flesh is going to remain. He's coming to get his portion. He's coming to get what belongs to him. Only those who have been separated from death via the seal of the living Elohim, the Ruach HaKadosh, the greater separation, Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the Ruach HaKadosh, who is the separated spirit, the separated Ruach, the Ruach of separation, the Ruach HaKadosh, who is Yahuwah in flesh. He is the greater separation, for it is written, it is Yahuwah who separates us. It is Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone who separates us. And so the Master has been seeking his people to seek this greater separation, to ensure that you are separated, to ensure that you have the seal of the living Elohim, that you have partaken of the greater separation, that you have partaken of his flesh, and that you have drinking of his blood, that you have partaken of the greater separation, so that in this season, not next season, not the season to come, this season, that you will perhaps be saved from the hour of trial that is soon to come upon this earth. And so he's given us a series of messages, and I'm not going to recount them. I'm not going to replay them. If you have a desire to hear them, if you've been sitting here, at any link, if you've been sitting here either live or if you've been listening to his videos or his teachings at any link, I should not have to repeat myself in any way, and I'm not. I'm not going to replay. I'm not going to recap. I'm not going to look back upon what he has already spoken. We're looking straight ahead. We're looking straight ahead. We're in the midst of a greater separation. We're in the midst of a greater separation. And only 144,000 are going to be separated. Only 144,000 out of 7+ billion people. The house of Judah, the house of Yahudah, the elder son, the elder daughter, the one to be joined into marriage first, the one who was never divorced, as opposed to Ephraim, who was divorced in 722 BCE. He is coming to gather that elder son, that elder daughter, Yahudah, his covenant people, in a short while, and bring us to his covenant mount. Yes, and bring us to his covenant mountain, to the mountain of Elohim, to Mount Zion, where we will be given a song that no one else can sing, dressed in white robes, to be weighed before our master Yahuwah by our high priest in the order of Melchizedek, Yahushua HaMashiach, to be weighed before him as a first fruit offering, well-pleasing and acceptable unto him. I don't know what else to say. Indeed, I've said nothing. I've said nothing. Either you believe his words. Either you believe the words that the master has been spoken, and you are likewise governing yourselves accordingly with respect to the words that have been spoken, or you don't believe. That's the choice. Either you believe what he has spoken through the mouth of his servant. Either you have his Ruach, and the Ruach in you, who is the Ruach of truth, bears witness to the truth that has been spoken, or you do not have the Ruach of truth, and what is in you does not bear witness to what has been spoken. And if you do have his Ruach and the Ruach of truth, and you are bearing witness to the truth that has been spoken, then there ought to be an urgency in you. There ought to be a fire in you. There ought to be an urgency, and there ought to be no complacency found in you, because we have no time to sleep or slumber. Indeed, those that sleep or slumber are going to die. If you are bearing witness to this, there ought to be an urgency about you. There ought to be something different about you. If you are born witness to the truth that has been proclaimed in your ears. So it's really this simple now. Either you believe the words of the master, either you believe that even I have been sent by him, and believe the words that he has spoken through his servant, or you don't believe. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. And with that said, that is actually a segue into what the master wants to proclaim to his people this day. And if you're taking notes, the title of this message, this teaching, this proclamation is Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 88. Yes, sir. Part 88. The great separation has begun. The great separation, the greater separation, the greater separation has begun. Belief, hear him, belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Hear him, belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 88. The greater separation has begun. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 88. The greater separation has begun. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Only the righteous will see his face. Only the righteous will get to Mount Zion to see the Lamb, to be weighed before our master as a first fruit offering. Only the righteous, Only the believing. Only the believing. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Give us a precept, little one.
Matthew 17, 14 to 21.
Matthew, Matat Yahu, turn to the Bashorah, the good news of Matthew, Matat Yahu. We're going to look at the Bashorah. We're going to look at the totality of the scriptures. We're going to look at the Bashorah, and we're going to look at the Tanakh. There's only one book. There's only one book. There's not a New and an Old Testament. There is the Tanakh, and there is the good news. There's one book. There is one book. But we're going to look at the Bashorah, and we're also going to look at the Tanakh. You don't understand the Bashorah unless you understand the Tanakh, the Torah, the prophets, and the Torah and the Nabiim, the prophets and the writings, the Ketuvim, the writings. Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 17. What verses, little one?
Verses 14 to 21.
Verses 14 to 21. Matthew, Matat Yahu, chapter 17, verses 14 through 21. Matat Yahu, Matthew, chapter 17, verses 14 through 21. Beginning at verse 14. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Beginning at verse 14. Read, little one.
And when they came to the crowd, a man came up to him, kneeling down to him and saying, Master, have compassion on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers badly. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water. And I brought him to your taught ones, but they were unable to heal him. And Yahusha answering said,
Listen. Read.
O generation, unbelieving and perverted.
O generation, unbelieving and perverted. Unbelieving and perverted. You see, if you are unbelieving, then you will operate in perverseness. Yes, you will. You will operate in all manner of perverseness. Yes, you will. And you will not be convicted about it, despite your so-called effort to follow and obey the Torah. Why are you even attempting to obey the Torah if you don't believe it? You see, unbelief and perverseness go hand in hand. They are synonymous. Because if you are unbelieving, then you will engage in perverseness. If you are believing, you will flee from every manner of perverseness. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Either you believe or you do not. Either you are righteous or you're unrighteous. Either you're believing or you're unbelieving. Righteous are the believing. Unrighteous, the unrighteous are the unbelieving. The perverse are the unbelieving. They are the unbelieving. Here he says, you unbelieving and perverse generation. Why were they perverse? Because they were unbelieving. Because they could not recognize their hour, their time of visitation. Like many of you do not recognize the Master's words that have been proclaimed. You do not recognize your hour, your time of visitation. You're unbelieving and your perverse generation. Your unbelieving and perverse generation. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Read, little one.
How long shall I be with you?
How long shall I be with you?
How long shall I put up with you?
How long shall I put up with you?
Bring him here to me.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahusha rebuked the demon, and he came out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And the child was healed from that hour.
Mm-hmm.
Then the taught ones came to Yahusha by himself and said, why were we unable to cast him out?
Why were we unable to cast him out? Listen to what he says first. Read.
And Yahusha said to them, because of your unbelief.
Mm-hmm.
For truly I say to you, if you have belief as a mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, move from here to there.
Why? Because one who believes is a son of Elohim. One who believes is a son of Elohim. One who believes has the greater separation. And if the greater separation be in you, speak to that mountain, be thou removed and cast into the sea. And it has no choice but to obey, not you, but he who is in us. The greater separation. Read, little one.
And it shall move. and no matter shall be impossible for you.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. I don't think they believe yet, little one. They don't believe yet. Give us another precept.
But this kind does not go out except through prayer and fasting.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Come on, they still don't believe though. Give us another precept.
Matthew 12:38 to 40.
Matat Yahu 12. Go back a little bit. Matat Yahu 12. What verse, little one?
38 to 41.
38 to 41. Go back. Matat Yahu, Matthew 12, verses 38 to 41. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. If you believe, you will reverently fear the master. You will reverence him, and you will obey him, and you will depart from every wicked and perverse thing. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. And you will trust them even unto death. If you trust, if you believe. Yes, you will. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous, and it is in this season that the greater separation are those who believe. The greater separation in this season are those who believe. You're getting ready to see some things, Yahudah. The earth is getting ready to see some things. We're not going to escape all. We are going to escape the hour of trial, but there are some things that we're going to see. That pit, the pit of hell, is getting ready to be opened. Then the righteous from the unrighteous are going to be separated. For only those who have the seal of the living Elohim are not going to be bothered by those Shadaim, by those demons coming up from that pit. What the text declares, they're going to be given the power to sting men for 5 months, and they're going to pray to die. But it won't be time yet to die. No, that's just the opening act. That's just the opening round. That is sent to cause repentance. That is sent to cause repentance. They're going to pray for death, but death is going to flee them. But they're not going to be able to harm those who have the seal of the living Elohim, the greater separation. The Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of separation, the greater separation, the spirit of separation, Yahushua HaMashiach in them. Come on, read, little one.
Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered, saying, Teacher, we wish to see a sign from you.
Hear him. Teacher, we wish to see a sign from you. Read.
But he answering said to them,
Come on.
A wicked and adulterous generation.
A wicked and adulterous generation.
Seeks after a sign.
Seeks after a sign. Hear him. Hear him. To be adulterous means what? It means to be unbelieving. It means to be faithless. Because if you're unbelieving, you will engage in every perverse matter. So he says here, a wicked and adulterous generation, a wicked and unbelieving generation seeks a sign. You see, it is the unbelievers that seek signs. It is unbelievers that seek signs. It is believers who reads the text, who reads it, who reads the unadulterated word of the living Elohim, and who believe it. And who believe it. You see, prophecy is for believers. Prophecy is something yet to come. This prophecy is not for the faint of heart. Nabah is not for the faint of heart, because this is something that could take generations to happen. This is something that could take generation upon generation to happen. It might not happen today. It might not happen next week. It might not happen next year or the year after that. You see, Nabah prophecy, this is for the believer. Because we hang on to every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. But signs, the unbelieving want a sign. We want something right now. This wicked microwave generation, which is being exemplified in this wicked church, that seeks signs right now, that goes from roadside magic show to roadside magic show, seeking a magic show. seeking something right now. But the people of belief, yes, the people of belief, his covenant people, we don't need a sign. Prophecy is for us, and it has been written. It has been written, if we do certain things, if we are part of this greater separation, that he will keep us from the hour of trial. This is prophecy. This is Nabah. Either you're going to believe it or you're not going to believe it. The unbeliever seeks a sign. Which are you? Do you believe his words? Or are you one of those that's looking for a sign? Come on, read, little one.
And no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the stomach of the great fish, so shall the Son of Adam be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Men of Nineveh shall stand up in the judgment with this generation. Men of Nineveh
shall stand up in judgment against this generation. Why, little one?
And condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and look, a greater than Jonah is here.
Barak Yahuwah. In other words, they repented. Why they repent? Because they believed the words of Jonah. They believed the words that were spoken through Jonah, so they repented. They turned from their wickedness. They turned from their uncleanness. They turned from their perverse ways in order to save their lives. And this is what the Master has been trying to do, to save your lives. And indeed, as Nineveh rose up and condemned that generation, Nineveh is going to rise up and condemn this generation. Because most will refuse his words, his preaching, his proclamation, and will not repent. And will not believe, first and foremost, will not believe and turn from their wicked ways, and turn from their perverseness, and turn unto him unto righteousness, that perhaps they may be saved from the hour of trial that is soon to come upon this earth. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Either you believe his words, either you have believed his words, or you do not. And your fruit testifies as to whether or not you believe or not. Line by line, precept upon precept, belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. The unrighteous is still looking for a sign. The unrighteous is still looking for a sign, and he has given us a sign because he did rise. He did rise on that Shabbat day. He did rise. And he lives. Yahushua HaMashiach, he lives. The body that was prepared for Yahuwah to dwell in, he lives. He never died. He never died. In fact, the body that he indwelled in, it died. But he did not die because Elohim cannot die. In the same way, if your wicked flesh dies, the inner man does not die. The flesh is separate from Ruach. The flesh was put to death, but he was raised to life in Ruach. For all you unbelievers who do not believe that Yahuwah Yahusha are one. The flesh died. He did not die. He cannot die. But that same flesh that was put to death, it rose again. On the third day, it rose as a renewed creature and presented himself as a wave offering, a first fruit offering to the Father, and rose again right before the day, the feast of Shavuot, and sent forth his Ruach, and sent forth and began to send forth his Ruach upon all flesh, to all who would believe. To all who would believe. You cannot receive the greater separation unless you believe. To all who believe, those who are near and those who are far off, for as many as Yahuwah our Elohim shall call. You cannot even receive the greater separation, the Ruach HaKadosh, the seal of the living Elohim, without belief. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Yes, it does. Belief is part of the greater separation. Those who are of the greater separation on the side of life will believe and do believe. Come on, read for us, little one.
1 Corinthians 14:22.
1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 22. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. The greater separation has begun. It is belief that is the greater separation. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. He has been proclaiming out of the mouth of his servant fervently for over 3 years. Either you believe or you don't. Either you believe or you don't. It is belief that separates the greater separation. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. 1 Corinthians 14, verse 22. Read verse 22, little one.
So then tongues are for a sign.
So that tongues are for a sign. Remember, signs are for the unbelievers. Read.
Not to those who believe.
Not to those who believe.
But to unbelievers.
But to unbelievers. Read.
And prophesying is not for unbelievers.
And nabiyin, prophesying is not for unbelievers, but
for those who believe.
But for those who believe. Now, Bob, prophecy is not something that happens right away. You've got to be patient. You've got to be long-suffering, trustworthy, faithful, a believer to receive prophecy. This is not for the unbelieving. This is not for the unbelieving. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Yes, it is. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is those who believe who are going to Mount Zion, who receive his words and who are governing themselves accordingly, and who are turning away and avoiding every manner of perverse thing. Don't you dare claim fellowship with my master while walking in darkness and perverseness. You're a liar and the truth is not in you. You're an unbeliever. You're an unbeliever and you are perverse. These are not my words. These are the words of the master. You're a wicked and unbelieving and perverse generation. The believing will turn to him, will turn to the light, and avoid every wicked and perverse thing, everything that is contrary to him. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Come on, give us another precept.
Genesis chapter 15, the whole chapter.
Genesis now. Let's go back to the beginning. Told you we was going to read some Torah. This is not a new concept. You think belief is a new concept? Belief has always been a part of the diet of the righteous. It has always been a part of the makeup of the righteous one. Belief has always delivered and saved the righteous. And it is belief that will save the righteous and deliver the righteous in this season unto Mount Zion. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Yea, behold, a greater separation has begun. Barashif, Genesis chapter 15. Barashif, Genesis chapter 15 in its entirety. Barashif, Genesis chapter 15 in its entirety, beginning now at verse 1. Read, little one.
After these events, the word of Yahuwah came to Abram in a vision, saying,
Listen, read.
Do not be afraid, Abram.
Do not be afraid, Abram. Read.
I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great.
I am your shield, and your reward, Abram, is exceedingly great. Read.
And Abram said, Master Yahuwah, what would you give me, seeing I go childless? And the heir of my house is Ali Azar of Damascus.
Come on, read.
And Abram said, See, you have given me no seed. And see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahuwah came to him, saying,
Read, listen. You have given me no seed. You have given me no son. You have given me no heir. You've given me no one to inherit from me. Come on, read.
This one is not your heir.
Yeah.
But he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said.
Read.
Look now toward the heavens.
Look now towards the Shamayim. Read.
And count the stars if you are able to count them.
And count the stars if you are able to count them. Read.
And he said to him, so are your seed.
So are your seed. So are your children, Abram. So are the people of belief. So are the people of the covenant. Come on, read.
And he believed in Yahuwah.
And he believed in Yahuwah.
And he reckoned it to him for righteousness.
Oh, you thought they were my words, did they, little one? And it was reckoned to him as righteousness. His belief was reckoned to him as righteousness. Belief separates the righteous, from the unrighteous. It is the believing who were children of Abraham. Abraham avoided every perverse thing. He kept the commandments and the statutes of Yahuwah all young. Yes, he did. All of them. Yes, he did. And he was considered to be righteous. He believed and he obeyed. He believed and he obeyed. And it was accredited, it was accounted to him, as I always have a problem with that word, little when I get tongue-tied, accounted to him as righteousness through his belief. It has always been belief that has separated the righteous from the unrighteous. This season ain't no different. It will be the children of Abraham, the children of our father Abraham, covenant people, who will make it to Mount Zion, 144,000 of the house of Yahudah, believing ones who will make it to Mount Zion. Belief, it has always been belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Yes, we're in the midst of a greater separation. And in this greater separation, it is a separation between believers and unbelievers. Oh, there are many who say that they believe. There are many Yahudah who indeed say they believe. But hear him. There is something coming to this earth soon that is going to shake the core of everybody's belief. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's going to separate the men from the boys and the women from the girls. He is in the midst of separating his covenant people. There is a great shaking coming. That pit, the great pit, is getting ready to be open. There are things that are going to be seen that is going to test your belief. You say you believe. You say you believe. Your belief is getting ready to be tested. You better make sure. You better make your calling and election sure. Because it is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is belief that determines who has the seal of the living Elohim, who is part of the greater separation, and who is part of the 7+ billion who are going to be stung for 5 months, and who are going to pray for death, and death going to flee them. And death will flee them. These are not my words. These are the words of the Master. It has always been belief that has separated the righteous from the unrighteous. It has always been belief that has determined who are the children of Abraham. Who truly are the children of Abraham. Hear him. You cannot receive the greater separation without belief. You cannot receive the seal of the living Elohim without belief. You cannot receive the living water without belief. No. No. You're a liar if you say something else. No, you cannot. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is Yahuwah who makes us righteous. He is Yahuwah Zadakanu. It is he who clothes us in his righteousness. When we are sealed in his righteousness, when we are sealed with the seal of the living Elohim, when we have the greatest separation inside of us, Yahushua HaMashiach, the separated Ruach, the spirit of separation, we receive him by belief. Yahudah, we receive him through belief. We receive the Mashiach through belief. We receive him through belief. He is the greatest separation, and we receive him through belief. 144,000 true believers worldwide. Yes, sir. 144,000 true believers, true children of Abraham worldwide. Out of 7+ billion people, 144,000 true believers, true children of faith, true children of Amanah, of belief. Worldwide. 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 You're getting ready to see that greater separation with your own eyes, because there's a great shaking coming to this earth. The pit is getting ready to be open, and that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. Death is coming to this earth. Hasatan is going to put on flesh, and hell is coming with him. Hell is coming with him, but he will have no power or authority over true believers. Over 144,000 worldwide. He will have no power or authority over them, because we've been redeemed from his hand. We've been snatched from the power of darkness. We've been snatched from death and brought into life and brought into his marvelous light. 144,000 true believers worldwide. You say you believe. Your belief going to be tested. Your belief going to be tried. Our belief has always been tried. Always. He always proves his children. He always proves the righteous. He always proves the believers. Why? To increase your belief. To increase your fruitfulness. Yes, he does. He always tears down the righteous so that the adversary cannot tear him down later. And in his tearing down, he's building up so that the adversary cannot tear us down later. Belief has always separated the righteous from the unrighteous. You cannot receive the Ruach of separation, the greater separation, the Ruach HaKadosh, Yahushua HaMashiach, without belief. If you say anything otherwise, you're a liar. You're a liar. And many of you, most of you, you haven't received the words of the Master yet because of your unbelief. And because of your unbelief, you're going to perish. Because of your unbelief, you're going to perish. The unbelieving have always perished. 700,000+ unbelievers perished during the time of the flood. Billions are going to perish in this season because of unbelief. 144,000 true believers worldwide. It is belief that has always separated the children of Elohim. It is belief that determines who are the children of Abraham. Who are the sons and daughters of Abraham. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Come on, read, little one.
And he said to him, I am Yahuwah, who brought you out of Kasdim.
Yes.
To give you this land to inherit it.
Yes.
And he said, Master Yahuwah, whereby do I know that I possess it? And he said to him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer.
Hear him. Bring me a 3-year-old heifer. Read.
And a 3-year-old female goat.
And a 3-year-old female goat. Read.
And a 3-year-old ram.
And a 3-year-old what?
Ram.
And a 3-year-old ram. Read.
And a turtle dove. And a young pigeon. And he took all these to him and cut them in the middle.
Yeah.
And placed each half opposite the other.
It's separation. A separation. You've heard this teaching. This is the shadow of the circumcision. This is the shadow of that greater separation. Not one made with hands. The one not made with hands. You can't receive that one without belief. Hear him. You can't even partake of what Abram partook of. That separation, that greater separation, when he separated his flesh when he cut his flesh, when he split his flesh, when there was a separation called a circumcision in his flesh, you can't do that without belief. You tell a grown man to circumcise his penis without having seen Yahuwah. He'd never seen him. He'd heard his voice. But at this point, he'd never seen him. But he had heard him, but he had never seen him. Do you understand that this is a shadow of that greater circumcision of the heart? It is Yahuwah who separates us. You cannot do this without belief. You cannot receive him. You cannot receive the greater separation by belief no more than he could circumcise or separate his flesh had he been unbelieving. He believed. He believed. He believed and he was received. The Master Yahuwah chose him. He chose him. He was his chosen one. He was his anointed. Abram, yes, he was his anointed. He was his chosen. He chose him. Out of all the people of the earth, he chose Abram as his chosen and as his anointed one. And he dwelled in him. But Abram was given as an example, as a shadow. The circumcision of the flesh is a shadow of a greater separation. The circumcision is a separation. It is a shadow of a greater separation. And just like Abram had to have belief to even split these animals, which was a shadow of the splitting of his flesh, we must have belief to receive the greater separation, Yahushua HaMashiach, that separation, the circumcision of the heart. Belief has always separated the believers from the unbelievers, the righteous from the unrighteous. It is belief that is separating the righteous in this season. It is belief that is allowing us to receive the seal of the living Elohim. Come on, read, little one.
But he did not cut the birds, and the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. And it came to be when the sun was going down, and a deep sleep fell upon Abram, that see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nations whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterward let them come out with great possessions. Now as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace. You are to be buried at a good old age. Then in the fourth generation they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to be when the sun went down and it was dark, that see a smoking oven and a burning torch passing between those pieces. On the same day Yahuwah made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your seed, from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river Euphrates, with the Canaanites and the Canazites and the Kadamanites and the Katites and the Perizzites and the Raphaim and the Amorites and the Canaites and the Girgashites and the Yabusites. And that's it.
Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. We're not going to read the next chapter, but we're going to line by line, precept upon precept. You know, we've read the next chapter, and it talks about he's commanded to circumcise himself and all those of his household and all those his 8-day-old male sons. He is to circumcise them because this is a sign. This is the sign of the covenant. That word sign is Aleph, U, and Tar. Aleph, U, and Tar. Aleph, a representation of Yahuwah. It is represented by an ox. It represents power. It denotes power. It points towards Yahuwah. The U is represented by a tent peg or a nail or something that affixes or joins. And the Tar is always a representation of covenant. It is the circumcision. The circumcision is one of the signs that join us into covenant with Yahuwah. It is one of the signs, and we cannot receive this sign without belief. No more could Abram split himself and split his seed. And grown men drop their pants and receive a circumcision. They could not have done this without belief. They could not have done this without belief. This being a shadow of a circumcision not made with hands, done by the greater circumcision, by the Ruach HaKodesh, whom we cannot receive without belief. Whom we cannot receive without belief. We cannot receive the seal of the living Elohim. We cannot receive the greater separation without belief. Because if we believe, we will repent. We will turn from perverseness and wickedness. And thus it is written in Acts chapter 2, verse 38, repent and be immersed in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach for the forgiveness of sin. And receive the Ruach HaKodesh. For the promise is to you who are near and to those who are far off. For as many as Yahuwah our Elohim shall call. You have to believe. If you believe, you will repent and you will avoid every manner of darkness, every manner of wickedness and perverseness. It is the unbelieving that continue to operate in perverseness. It is the unbelieving that continue to operate in perverseness. The unbelieving can never receive his Ruach. He must be received by belief. And it is he who is the greater separation. Yahushua HaMashiach. It is he who determines who is going to be separated unto life and who is going to be separated unto death in this season. 144,000 true believers worldwide in this season. 144,000 true children of Abraham in this season. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It has always been this way. This is no new concept. It has always been this way. There must be belief. We must believe in an Elohim that we cannot see. We must believe in his words, in his prophecy, that his words are eternal and that his words will and must come to pass. And the believers believed this. Abraham died, having not seen the promise. Many of our righteous fathers, they died without having seen the promise. But they will see the promise because they died in belief, and the Master's word shall not and cannot return void. Belief has always separated the righteous from the unrighteous. Our fathers were righteous because they believed, and they operated in righteousness and avoided every manner of unclean thing, every manner of perverseness. The unbelieving, look around you, Yahudah. The unbelieving have no shame. They have no shame. Even those of the so-called house of Yahuwah. The unbelieving have no shame, Yahudah. They have no shame. They continue to operate in all manner of perverseness. Not understanding that death is getting ready to manifest and he's coming to destroy their flesh. That perhaps their soul will be saved. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. This is the greatest separation that is occurring in this season. 144,000 true believers worldwide. Come on, give us another precept, Brother Juan.
Habakkuk 2:1-4.
Habakkuk, otherwise called Habakkuk. What's it called in there? Habakkuk, Barak Yahuwah. Habakkuk, otherwise called Habakkuk. Habakkuk, otherwise called Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verses 1-4. Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 1-4. Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 1-4. It takes belief to believe in a living Elohim. It takes belief to believe in righteousness. It takes belief to do righteousness. It takes belief to be steadfast, to stand firm in your belief in the word of the living Elohim, that it must it must come to pass. It has no choice but to come to pass. Thus, prophecy is for believers. And if you believe, you will do righteousness. You will do righteousness, and you will avoid every manner of perverseness. And he has promised. He has promised through Nabah, through prophecy, to keep those 144,000 true believers worldwide in this season, to keep us from death, to keep us from the hour of trial that is soon to come upon this earth. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. Beginning at verse 1, read, little one.
I stand at my watch.
I stand at my watch, listen.
And station myself on the watchtower.
And station myself on the watchtower, listen.
And wait to see what he says to me.
And wait to see what he says. My master Yahuwah says to me. Listen, read.
And what to answer when I am reproved.
And what to answer when I am reproved. Read.
And Yahuwah answered me and said.
And Yahuwah answered me and said, read.
Write the vision.
Write the vision. Something that is yet to come. Write the vision, read.
And inscribe it on tablets.
And inscribe it on tablets, read.
So that he who reads it.
So that he who reads it in future generations, read.
Runs,
read.
For the vision is yet for an appointed time.
For the vision is yet for an appointed time, read.
And it speaks of an end.
And it speaks of an end. We are at that end, read.
And does not lie.
And does not lie, read.
If it lingers.
If it lingers.
Wait for it.
Wait for it. It does not lie. If it lingers, wait for it. Read.
For it shall certainly come.
For it shall certainly come.
It shall not delay.
It shall not delay. Read.
See, he whose being is not upright in him.
See, whose being is not upright in him.
Is puffed up.
Is puffed up.
But the righteous one.
But the righteous one.
Lives by his steadfastness.
Lives by his belief. Lives by his belief. Even though these things have not come to pass, they will come to pass. They do not lie. They do not delay. I do not lie. I cannot lie. The believing will remain steadfast and will believe what thus says Yahuwah. And if he believes, he will operate in uprightness and righteousness and truth, and avoid every manner of unclean thing. Every manner of unclean thing. Either you believe or you don't. Either you believe the words, the messages that have been spoken through the mouth of his servant, or you don't. Either you believe or you don't. Whether you know it or not, your belief or unbelief is working out whether or not you are part of the greater separation on the side of life or the greater separation on the side of death. Belief have always separated the righteous from the unrighteous. The righteous, the believing, we don't need signs. If it's written, it is so. If it's written, it is so. If it's written and if it's a prophecy from the master, it must come to pass. It has no choice. No more than the sun and the moon and the stars had a choice to appear at the word of Yahuwah. No more than all creation had a choice but to appear and to respond from nothing via the voice, via the word of Yahuwah. It must come to pass. If it is written, it must come to pass. He has not spoken nothing from the mouth of his servant that is not written. Either you believe or you do not believe. It is belief that has always separated the righteous from the unrighteous. It is belief that is the greater separation in this season. Belief is Torah. Belief is of the Torah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Belief is of the Torah. The Torah is useless if you don't believe it and obey it and avoid every manner of perverseness and every manner of unclean thing. Unbelief will cause you to want to add to the Torah and want to take away from the Torah, because the simple word of Yahuwah is not good enough for you. You want to question it because you want to question your standing with him. That's unbelief. That's unbelief. The Torah needs no help. Either you believe or you don't. It has always been belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. The righteous will obey the Torah. The righteous will obey every word that proceeds from his mouth because they believe. And they will avoid every manner of perverseness and unclean things. Behold, the greater separation has begun. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
YAHUAH'S, the whole chapter 1.
Let's go now. Let's go now to Job, Ayub. Ayub chapter 1. Ayub, otherwise called Job, chapter 1. Ayub, otherwise called Job, chapter 1. Ayub, otherwise called Job, chapter 1. I told you, the righteous, the believing, you say you believe, you're going to be tested. The righteous are always proven. Your belief is going to be called into question. Yes, it is. You say you believe, your belief is going to be called into question. You're going to be proven. You're going to be pruned. You're going to be built up so the adversary cannot tear you down. But if you are a righteous one, even in affliction, you will obey and you will believe the engrafted word of Yahuwah. If he has spoken it, it must come to pass. It shall come to pass. It has no other option but to come to pass. And if you are a believer, you will stand firm and steadfast in belief, immovable as a stone, immovable as a rock by belief. Ayub, Job chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. Read, little one.
There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Ayub, and that man was perfect and straight, and one who feared Elohim and turned aside from evil. And 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. And his possessions were 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 female donkeys, and a very large body of servants, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the east. And his sons went and had a feast in the house of each on his day, and sent and invited their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it came to be, when the days of feasting had gone round, that Ayub would send and set them apart. And he would rise early in the mornings and offer ascending offerings, the number of them all. For Ayub said, it might be that my sons have sinned and cursed Elohim in their hearts. This Ayub always did. And the day came to be that the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahuwah.
Listen.
And Hashatan also came among them.
The destroyer of flesh, death, came among them. Read.
And Yahuwah said to Hashatan, From where did you come?
From where did you come?
And Hashatan answered Yahuwah and said, From diligently searching in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And Yahuwah said to Hashatan,
Listen.
Have you considered my servant Ayub?
Have you considered my servant Ayub? If you are his servant, you will be proven. You will be tested. Your belief will be tested. Will be tested. It is through belief that we are made perfect. It is belief. It is through belief that perfection comes. Yes, it is. It is through belief that perfection comes, even when you're tested, even when you're tried, even when you're in the midst of the inferno. It is belief. It is belief that manifests perfection. It is belief that has always separated the righteous from the unrighteous, because in affliction, even the righteous will believe and will obey. Oh, your belief, Yehuda. is going to be called into question. Your belief is being called into question. 144,000 true believers worldwide. Behold, the greater separation has begun. Belief has already separated the righteous from the unrighteous. Read, little one.
That there is none like him on the earth.
There is none like my servant Ayub, like him on the earth. Read.
A perfect and straight man.
A perfect and straight man.
One who fears Elohim.
One who reverences Elohim.
And turns aside from evil.
And turns aside from perverseness. And turns aside from perverseness. Why? Because he believes. Because he believes. He's a righteous man. An unbeliever cannot be righteous. He is a righteous man because he believes. And Yahuwah knew that his servant was a righteous man and knew that he believed and knew that he would not turn aside from him. That he would hold fast to his belief. Your belief is going to be called into question, Yahuwah. The children of Abraham are the children of the belief. We are the children of the belief. Yes, we are. We are a part of that greater separation, receiving the seal of the living Elohim, of whom you cannot receive without belief. Come on, read, little one.
And Hashatan answered Yahuwah and said, Is Ayub fearing Elohim for naught? Have you not made a hedge around him and around his household, and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand, please, and strike all that he has, if he would not curse you to your face. And Yahuwah said to Hashatan, See, all that he has is in your hand. Only do not lay a hand on him.
Only do not lay a hand on him. You cannot destroy him. You cannot destroy him. You cannot kill him, destroyer. But all that he has is in your hands. Read.
And Hashatan went out from the presence of Yahuwah. And the day came to be when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the house of their brother, the firstborn. And a messenger came to Ayub and said, The oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding alongside them when Shabbat fell upon them and took them away. And they struck the servants with the edge of the sword. And I alone have escaped to inform you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, The fire of Elohim fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. And I alone have escaped to inform you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, The Kasdim formed 3 bands and made a raid on the camels and took them away. And they struck the servants with the edge of the sword. And I alone have escaped to inform you.
Read.
While he was still speaking, another also came and said, Your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in the house of their brother, the firstborn. And see, a great wind came from the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house. And it fell on the young men. And they are dead. And I alone have escaped to inform you.
What does Job say? Ayub say, read.
Ayub rose up and tore his robe and shaved his head. And he fell to the ground and did obeisance. And said...
Wait. Obeisance. To who, little one? To Yahuwah. To Yahuwah. He shaved his head because he was mourning. He just lost his children. And he tore a robe because he was mourning. He just lost his children. But then he did obeisance. He bowed down to Yahuwah. What did he say, little one?
And he said, Naked I came from my mother's womb.
Naked I came from my mother's womb.
And naked I returned there.
Naked I returned there.
Yahuwah has given.
Yahuwah has given.
And Yahuwah has taken away.
And Yahuwah has taken away.
Blessed be the name of Yahuwah.
Baruch be the name of Yahuwah.
In all this Ayub did not sin, nor ascribe wrongdoing unto Elohim.
In all this Ayub, a righteous man, behold, a true son of Abraham, did not sin or ascribe wrong to Yahuwah. You see, the master's word says this: if you love son or daughter more than me, a sister, a brother, a father, or mother, then you're not worthy of me. I recall the rich young ruler who asked the master, good master, what shall I do to attain everlasting life. He said, why do you call me good? No one's good but the Father. He says, but what is in the Torah? How do you read it? What's there? And he begins to tell him, recount to him the commandments that he should keep. And he says, all these I have kept since I was a youth. He says, but you lack one thing. He says, but you lack one thing. He says, if you want to be perfect, go and sell all you have and give it away to the poor. And give it away to the poor. It says there that the young man, he went away full of sorrow because he had many riches. He had great riches. The master proclaimed it is easier for a camel to enter through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter into life. A true son of Elohim, a true son of Abraham, a true believer. A true believer, the master has told you, he says, look around. He's told you to look around. Many whom you were close to and whom you love. If you are a true believer, are not going to Mount Zion. There's not room. There is not room. 144,000 true believers worldwide. Some of you are married and you have young children. Can you respond? Can you, with truth, right now, as you sit, listening under the sound of my voice? Can you declare that if this happened to you, that you would perhaps shave your head, tear your robe, and bow down and do obeisance, and declare, naked I came into the world, and naked I shall return. Blessed Baruch be the name of Yahuwah. You better ask yourself that question, because you're in the midst of a greater separation. You are in the midst of a greater separation. And if you love son or daughter, sister, brother, mother, or father, your possessions, or anything more than Yahuwah, you're not worthy to be his taught one. You're not a righteous one. You're not a believer. You're not a true believer. You're not a son or a daughter of Abraham. You do not have the Ruach of separation, the greater separation, the Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach. You do not have him. Therefore, you're reserved for correction. You're reserved for the cup of wrath to be poured upon you, so that perhaps you will be corrected via the chastening rod of the great distress to come down upon your back in the person, in the form of Hasatan, death in flesh, coming to destroy the flesh, so that perhaps the soul will be saved. 144,000 true believers worldwide. That's it. That's it. Because we cannot receive the living water, the Ruach HaKadosh, the spirit of separation, that inner circumcision, that inner separation, without belief. Without belief. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. This is a righteous man. This, despite what you may have heard by him, this is a righteous man. Make no mistake. If you are righteous, if you are a believer, your belief will be tested. Your belief will be tested. If it has not been tested yet, stand by, buckle up. There's a great shaking coming upon this earth. 144,000 worldwide. You see there's a sifting. Yeah, there's a sifting. And from that sifting, 144,000 going to be saved from the hour trial. 144,000 going to be sealed with the seal of the living Elohim, the greater separation, which you cannot receive without belief. Because if you believe, you again will repent from every matter of evil, from every matter of perverseness, just like this righteous man Job did. And although all this was taken from him, he did not accredit it as wrong to Yahuwah. Ayub, Job chapter 2. Ayub, Job chapter 2. Ayub, Job chapter 2, beginning at verse 1. Read for us, little one.
Again, the day came to be that the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahuwah. And Hashatan also came among them to present himself before Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to Hashatan, from where did you come? And Hashatan answered Yahuwah and said, from diligently searching in the earth and from walking up and down in it. And Yahuwah said to Hashatan, have you considered my servant Ahub, that there is none like him on the earth, a perfect and straight man, one who reveres Elohim and turns aside from evil?
A perfect and straight man, one who turns aside from evil and reverences Yahuwah, his Elohim. He is a righteous man. He is a believer. He is a righteous man and he is a believer, but his belief is being tested now. Just as all those who aspire to follow the Mashiach shall suffer persecution. Shall suffer persecution. That crown is not simply going to be given to you, Yahudah. You're going to suffer. Your belief will be tested. It's easy to say that you're a believer until affliction and persecution comes. And if you are a righteous one, a believer, your belief will be tested. You will be torn down and built up so the adversary cannot tear you down later. 144,000 believers, 144,000 righteous ones sealed with the seal of the living Elohim in this season. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. We're talking about a greater separation. We're talking about those who are going to Mount Zion and those who are going to be left here to be corrected. Come on, read, little one.
And still he holds fast to his integrity. Although you incited me against him to destroy him without cause. And Hashatan answered Yahuwah and said, skin for skin, and all that a man has he would give for his life.
Listen.
But stretch out your hand, please, and strike his bone and his flesh, if he would not curse you to your face.
Listen.
And Yahuwah said to Hashatan,
listen, read.
See, he is in your hands.
See, he is in your hands, destroyer. Death, he is in your hands. But listen, read.
Only spare his life.
Only spare his life. You cannot destroy his life because he is a righteous one. He is a perfect man. He is a believer. He is a son of Abraham. You can strike his flesh because I'm using you to test his belief and to build him up. But you cannot kill him. You cannot kill him. You cannot destroy him. But I'm going to use you to test his belief. I already know the outcome because he is my son. He is a righteous one. He is a believer in me. And he will hold fast and will not deny my name. 144,000 worldwide. Look at the example of Ayub. A great testing is coming. 144,000 worldwide true believers, righteous ones, having the seal of the living Elohim. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Read, little one.
And Hashatan went out from the presence of Yahuwah and struck Ahub with loathsome sores from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took a potsherd with which to scrape himself while he sat in the midst of the ashes. And his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse Elohim and die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Indeed, should we accept only good from Elohim?
See, this is what you get for being unequally yoked. This is what you can get for being unequally yoked. Come on, read.
And not accept evil. In all this, Ayub did not sin with his lips. And the three of the friends of Ayub heard of all this evil that came on him. And each one came from his own place. Eliphaz the Tamanite and Baldad the Shukaite.
Wait, little one. But even through that testing via Hasatan, entering into his wife, tempting him, he still yet did not sin. He held on to his integrity because he's a righteous man. He held on in this testing. As his belief was being tested, he held steadfast to the belief and refused to turn and refused to let go because of his belief. An unbelieving man would have cursed Elohim and died. But a righteous, believing man held strong. He held on to his belief, and yet still he did not sin. Read, little one.
And Saphar the Anamathite, and they met together to come to sympathize with him and to comfort him. And they lifted up their eyes from a distance and did not recognize him. And they lifted their voices and wept. And each one tore his robe and sprinkled dust on his head toward the heavens. Then they sat down with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights. And no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that the pain was very great.
Rock Yahuwah. Now we're not gonna during this teaching, we're not gonna read the entire book of Ayub. Perhaps the master will lead us that way later on, but there are specific chapters that the master has pointed out for us today. But we will not go through the entire book of Ayub again, maybe perhaps later if it's his will, but not today. Turn now to Ayub chapter 19. Ayub chapter 19, the first chapter. He loses all of his flocks and herds and all of his servants, and he lost all of his children. This righteous man, this righteous and belief are synonymous. Unrighteous and unbelief are synonymous. But this righteous believing man, instead of cursing Elohim or inscribing sin upon Elohim, upon Yahuwah, he simply shaved his head in mourning, tore his robe, and bowed down in obeisance to Yahuwah, and declaring with his lips, naked I came into the world, naked I shall return. Blessed Baruch be the name of Yahuwah. Because of his belief he did this. Because of his belief and because he was a righteous man. Because if he was a righteous man, he did this. His belief was strong. It is said, it is written in an ancient text called the Seder Olam, that this trial, this affliction of Ayub lasted 12 months. 12 full months that he had these painful balls on his flesh. For 12 full months, his belief was tested. For 12 whole months, his belief was tested. Yet he held fast to his belief. He held fast to his belief. This righteous man held fast to his belief. Your belief, Yahudah, is going to be tested in this season. There's a sifting going on. A separation going on. A greater separation between the believing and the unbelieving. The believing will bear forth the fruit of belief. The unbelieving will sow forth their fruit. 144,000 true believers worldwide in this season. Belief has always separated the believers from the unbelievers. Ayub chapter 19, beginning at verse 1. Read, little one.
And Ayub answered and said, how long would you grieve my life and crush me with words? These 10 times you have insulted me.
Now here he's talking about his 3 so-called friends who were sent from Hasatan to not console him, but to grieve him. And listen, Yahudah, there are many like these who are around that call themselves Yehudi. They see you down in the dirt. Now these 3 men here are akin to that priest that passed by the man, the Samaritan, that man that was beaten down in the dirt, left for dead, who had a knowledge of the Torah, but who lacked the Torah being righteousness, but lacked the fruit of righteousness. A Levite then passed by the other side who had a knowledge of the Torah, knowledge of righteousness, but lacked the fruit of righteousness. Then a Gentile, having not the Torah written out before him, a Gentile, but showing that he was a Torah of himself, operating in the works of the Torah, showed compassion towards this man. These 3 men are akin to that priest and that Levite who had a knowledge of righteousness, but lacked the fruit of righteousness. But rather than console their friends and show compassion on him, they rather accused them. They rather accused them and to beat him into a lower state than even that he was. But this righteous man, full of belief, held fast to his belief, did not commit sin, did not curse them, did not curse his Elohim. Because of his belief. Because of his belief, because of his trustworthiness, his faithfulness. Well done, my good and trustworthy servant Ayub. You've been faithful over a little. I'm going to make you a rule over much. He did that in the end, didn't he, little one? Didn't he do that in the end? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Make no mistake, Yahudah. It is belief that has always separated the righteous from the unrighteous, and your belief is going to be tested. If it's not already been tested, it's going to be tested, but watch out, buckle up. A greater testing is coming. A greater testing is coming. And you must endure if you desire to escape the hour of trial. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief determines who have the spirit of separation. Because without belief, you cannot receive this circumcision. You cannot receive this separation without belief. Come on, read, little one.
Shamelessly you attack me. Even if I have truly gone astray, my strain remains with me. If indeed you would exalt yourselves above me and plead against my reproach, know then that Yahuwah has overthrown me and has surrounded me with his net. See, I cry violence, but I am not heard. I cry aloud, but there is no right ruling. He has fenced up my way, and I pass not over. And he has placed darkness in my path. He has stripped me of my esteem and taken the crown from my head. He breaks me down on every side, and I am gone, and uproots my expectancy like a tree. And he kindled his wrath against me, and he counts me as one of his enemies. His companies come together, and they cast up their way against me.
This man is suffering. He's suffering. This man is suffering, and he suffered this way for 12 whole months. This man is suffering. This righteous man, this true believer, this true son of Abraham, he's suffering. You don't know what hit him. He done no wrong. He didn't have to do anything wrong. Yahuwah is sovereign, and he does as he pleases. He does as he pleases, and what he does is for our own good. This was done to build up his belief, to make him stronger in the belief than he already was. Trials and persecution are part of the believer, the true believer. The true believer in the Torah, the true believer in righteousness, the true believer in Yahushua HaMashiach, the true believer in Yahuwah, the true believer in his reign and his righteousness. You will suffer. You will suffer. You must be built up so that the adversary, his counterpart, cannot tear us down. And thus, out of 7+ billion people, there will be only 144,000 true believers who will escape the hour of testing, the hour of trial that is soon to come upon this earth. 144,000 worldwide, true believers, sons and daughters of Abraham. Come on, read little one.
And encamp all around my tent. He has removed my brothers far away from me, and my friends are completely estranged from me. My near ones have fallen away, and my close friends have forgotten me. The guests in my house and my female servants reckon me for a stranger. I am a foreigner in their eyes. I have called my servant, but he gives no answer. I have to beg him with my mouth. My ruach is strange to my wife, and my loving commitment to the children of my own body. Even young children have scorned me. I rise and they speak against me. All my intimate friends loathe me, and those whom I love have turned against me. My bone clings to my skin and to my flesh, and I have escaped by the skin of my teeth. Show favor to me. Show favor to me. O you, my friends, for the hand of Yahuwah has struck me. Why do you persecute me like all does?
He's pleading with his friends. I'm suffering. I am Ayub. I'm your friend. He's pleading to them. Show compassion towards me. Show compassion towards me. Show favor towards me. I'm your friend. I'm Yahoo. I'm suffering. Stop cursing me. Stop beating me down. I'm already down in the dirt. Show compassion to me. He's pleading here with his friends. This righteous man was suffering. His belief is being tested. His belief now is being tested, and he's weak and he's bloody. He's probably at his weakest state. As his belief is being tested, he's been sifted and stretched beyond what he even recognized beyond what he realized that he could be stretched to. And he's pleading for compassion. Yet, he has not lost his belief. He has not lost his integrity. He is still a righteous man. Come on, read.
And are not satisfied with my flesh. Oh, that my words were written down.
Hear him. Oh, that my words were written down.
Oh, that they were inscribed in a book.
Oh, that they were inscribed in a book.
Engraved on a rock with an iron pen.
Engraved on a rock with an iron pen. Come on.
And led forever.
And led forever. Read.
For I know that my Redeemer lives.
For I know that my Redeemer lives. Come on.
And as the last shall rise over the dust.
And as the last shall rise over the dust. Come on.
And after my skin has been struck off.
And after my skin has been struck off. Come on.
Then in my flesh I shall see Yahuwah.
In my flesh I shall see Yahuwah. In my flesh I shall see him. Do you understand? In our flesh, Yahuwah, if you were part of that greater separation, in our flesh, as your flesh has been beaten down and you have very little strength, very little power, as your belief is being tested. In our flesh, on Mount Zion, we shall see him. In our flesh, we shall see him. If you survive the test, if you survive the test, true believers will be tested. You will be tested. You will suffer persecution. In the words of the Master, all who believe in his name will suffer persecution. All who follow him, who choose to follow the true Mashiach, not the Christian Mashiach, not Krishna, and not the Christ, but the true HaMashiach, Yahushua HaMashiach. If you choose to follow him, truly believe in him, your belief will be tested. You will be tested. It will be tested by both men, by both which is that is seen and by which that is unseen. You will be tested. But true believers survive the test. And this is what separates the righteous from the unrighteous. True believers will not waver. True believers will not stumble, will not fall, will remain steadfast in the belief. Will not turn either to the left or to the right of the righteous instructions given by our Father, and will avoid every manner of evil and every manner of unclean and perverse thing. Will maintain our integrity. Will maintain our integrity and our belief. And it is true believers who are part of this greater separation, who has a reward in this season for our steadfastness and our work, will be given the prize of Mount Zion, where we will be given a song that no one else can sing, and where we will be brought back to our land, where those who say they are Yahudim and or not will be caused to brought before us and worship before our feet, to see with their eyes what true Yahudi, what true sons and daughters of Abraham look like. Come on, read, little one.
Whom I myself shall see on my side, and not a stranger. My kidneys have failed within me. If you say, why do we persecute him? Seeing the root of the matter has been found in me. Fear the sword yourself, for wrath brings the punishment of the sword, so that you know there is a judgment.
Rock Yahuwah. Rock Yahuwah. One more chapter. Ayub. He is held fast to his belief. Despite the affliction, despite the testing of his belief, he is held fast to his belief and his righteousness and his trustworthiness. He is held fast. This is a testament of belief. This is a testament of the belief that is required in this season. Not only in this season, but this is required. All of our righteous fathers believe this way. It is belief that separates us from the unrighteous. It has always been this way. No one has seen the Master and lived. You must believe that he is. You must believe that he is. You've never seen him. You must believe that he is. You must receive the spirit of separation by belief. And you must obey him by belief. You must receive the body, the offering of Yahushua HaMashiach by belief, not by the works of the hands, by the slaying of a bull or a goat or a sheep, but through belief in the offering of the body of Yahushua HaMashiach, whom you've never seen. Whom you've never seen. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is belief that will separate us unto Mount Zion. 144,000 true believers, sons and daughters of Abraham worldwide. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
Job 23.
Job 23. Ayub chapter 23. Here he continues now to suffer this affliction. His belief is continuing now to be tested as he's being torn down and built up so the adversary cannot tear him down later. As his belief is being strengthened and built up so that the adversary cannot tear him down later. He is here in chapter 23 continuing to be tested, continuing to be afflicted. Again, the ancient Cedar Olam declares that he was afflicted for 12 whole months. 12 whole months in pain and suffering for 12 whole months. Ayub chapter 23, beginning at verse 1. Read, little one.
And Ayub answered and said, even today my complaint is bitter. My hand is heavy on account of my groaning. If only I knew where to find him. If only I knew where to find Yahuwah. No man has ever seen him. If only I knew where to find him. Hear him. Hear him. Don't get it twisted. He hasn't lost his belief. He's merely proclaiming, I've never seen him. I've never seen him so that I can't find him. I've never seen him. But yet I believe. Come on, read. I will come to his dwelling place. If I know where to find him, I would go to his dwelling place. Come on, read. I would present my case before him. I would present my case before him. And fill my mouth with proofs. I would know the words which he would answer me. And understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me in great power? No, but he would pay attention to me. There the upright might reason with him. And I will go safe forever from my judge. See, I go forward. Listen here. He's made his case here. If I knew where to find him, I'd go there and present my case to him. But here, this righteous, upright man, this son of Abraham, this son of the belief, yet I go forward. Read. But he is not. But he is not. And backwards. And backwards. But I do not perceive him. But I do not perceive him. To the left. To the left. Where he is working. Where he is working. But I do not see. But I do not see. He turns to the right. He turns to the right. But I do not see. But I do not see. For he knows the way that I take. For he knows the way that I take. He did not lose his belief. He did not lose his integrity. He remained a son of belief, a son of righteousness. But he knows the way that I take. Read. When he has tried me. When he has tried me, and he will try the righteous one. He will try the belief of the righteous one. But when he has tried me, read. I will come forth as gold. I will come forth as gold. I will come forth as gold. The righteous one. His belief has always been tried and tested. And it is belief that has always separated the righteous from the unrighteous. It is always belief that determines who is righteous and who is unrighteous. The believer will do righteousness. The believer will do righteousness irrespective of affliction and persecution or pressure or trial. The believer will avoid every manner of uncleanness and perverseness. Yes, he will. An unbeliever will cave, will give in to pressure. He will give in to perverseness and uncleanness. He is an unbeliever. No unbeliever can have part in everlasting life. No unbeliever can have part in Mount Zion. There was a greater separation going on. There's a separation between believers and unbelievers, true believers, true sons and daughters of Abraham. True children of the belief. True righteous ones, having the seal of the living Elohim,
having the greater separation, the seal of the living Elohim, Yahushua HaMashiach, inside of them, of whom you cannot receive without belief. It is these who have been separated unto Mount Zion, even before our eyes. Come on, read little one.
My foot has held fast to his steps.
My foot now has held fast to his steps, no matter what the affliction and what I'm going through. My foot has held fast to the belief. This is a righteous man, and his belief determines it, because his belief determines his obedience. You can't obey what you don't believe in. You can't have a hope and an expectation for something that you don't have belief in. And this is why prophecy is for believers, whereas signs are for unbelievers. With prophecy, you've got to have a hope and an expectation that what has been spoken will and shall come to pass, because it is the engrafted living word of Elohim. Come on, read little one.
I have guarded his way and did not turn aside.
I have guarded his way, and I have not turned aside, because of the belief. Because he believes and he is a righteous man. I've guarded the way, and I have not turned aside. Despite the affliction, I have guarded the way, Master, and I've not turned aside. Read.
I have not strayed from the commands of his lips.
I have not, Master, strayed from the commands of your lips.
I have treasured the words of his mouth.
I have treasured, Master, the words of your mouth.
More than my own law.
More than my own law. In some translations it says more than my own necessary food. Come on, read.
But he is one, and who does turn him? And he does whatever his being has desired. And he makes complete my law, and many like these are with him.
He is Yahuwah, and he does as he pleases. It is for my own good. It is for my own good to build up and not to tear down. To build up so that the adversary cannot tear us down. This is the case for the believer, for the righteous one, for true sons and daughters of Abraham. Abraham was tried. His belief was tried and tested. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But he remained steadfast and true. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He remained steadfast in the belief. And his children do likewise. 144,000 true believers, true ones in this season worldwide. Hear him, please. Worldwide. It's easy to say I believe, but when you are tested, when you're truly tested, what is in you comes to the surface. For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit. Nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Either you're righteous or you're unrighteous. That's it. Either you're a believer or you're an unbeliever. 144,000 righteous ones, true unbelievers, having the spirit of separation, the seal of the living Elohim in this season. No more. No more. And after he has sealed the number of his people, the true sons and daughters of Abraham, his true covenant people, in this season, he will seal no more. He will seal no more believers, because the rest are left to unbelief, to be corrected, to be tried and tested in the fires of the great distress. Come on, read little one.
Therefore I am troubled at his presence. I consider, and I am afraid of him. For all has made me faint-hearted, and the Almighty has alarmed me, because I was not cut off before darkness, and from my face he has covered the thick darkness.
Yet he did not lose his belief. He did not lose the integrity. Hear him, please, Yahuwah. Belief, 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 belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief, it is through belief that we receive the greater separation. The Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach, the spirit of separation. It is through belief that we receive the living water. You can't see the living water, Yehuda. You can't see it. And perhaps you may not even feel it. You have to receive by belief. We have to receive the living water, the greater separation by belief. 144,000 worldwide. And if you believe, you will bear the fruit of belief. You will bear the fruit of repentance. You will bear the fruit of righteousness. And he will come to make his home in you. He will come to make his abode in you. But if you do not believe, you think you can compromise. You think you can compromise his instructions. You think you can pick and choose. And your lot is with the unbelievers. Death is getting ready to manifest and come upon this earth. And his lot, his portion, are the unbelievers. His lot, his portion are unbelievers. The unbelievers, guess what? As a twist of irony, unbelievers are going to believe in him. Unbelievers are going to believe in him. Why? Because he's coming with great signs and wonders, little one. Unlike the earth has ever seen before. Yeah, and it is the unbeliever that needs a sign. It is an unbeliever that seeks for signs, and he's going to give it to them. He's going to operate in signs and wonders unlike the earth has ever seen before. Yes, he is. And those unbelievers who are left to him as his portion are going to believe. They're going to believe. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Believers don't need signs. We merely need the engrafted word of Yahuwah Elohim and his Ruach dwelling in us. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. How are we looking for time, little one?
151.
151. Give us one more precept, little one. I think we're going to shut this off for today, and we'll complete this on the fourth night. What we got coming up?
Mark 16, 16 to 18.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. One more precept, beloved ones, and we're going to cut this off because this is too important to rush. Too important to rush. The greatest separation has begun. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is belief that this is the greatest separation, because you cannot receive the greatest separation, the seal of the living Elohim, without belief. You cannot receive him without belief. It is these who are going to Mount Zion. And if you believe, if you say you believe, your belief is going to be tested, severely tested, beyond what you think that you are capable of enduring. Your belief is going to be tested. Last precept of the day, Mark chapter 16. What verse, little one?
16 to 18.
16 to 18. Marcus chapter 16, verses 16 through 18. Marcus chapter 16, verses 16 to 18. Mark chapter 16, verses 16 through 18. Beginning at verse 16, read, little one.
He who has believed.
Listen here. He who has believed. He who has believed. Read, little one.
And has been immersed.
And has been immersed. Read.
Shall be saved.
Shall be saved. You must believe in the death, in the burial, in the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach without having seen him. And you can't be saved unless salvation is in you. Unless you've received salvation, unless you've received the ruach of salvation in you. Yahushua HaMashiach, but this is predicated on belief. It's always been about belief. Belief has always been the thing that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. This has always separated the righteous from the unrighteous. Those who believe and are immersed shall be saved. Read.
But he who has not believed shall be condemned.
But he who has not believed shall be condemned. Condemnation equals judgment. Condemnation equals judgment. 7+ billion unbelievers who are going to be judged when death comes to this earth to judge them, to destroy the flesh in judgment, so that perhaps the soul will be saved. Those who believe and are immersed in his name. To be immersed in his name is not just simply be immersed in water. We must be immersed in living water. We must receive the living water of the spirit of separation, of which we cannot receive without belief. And if we believe in the Mashiach and are immersed in his name for the forgiveness of our sins, we are then being impaled with him through belief, and being buried with him through belief, and being resurrected to the newness of life through belief, thus through belief, having the penalty of death that entered into the world through Adam and Kua, paid in us through belief in his death, burial, and resurrection, of which we have just partaken of through immersion. And then, by belief, receive the spirit of separation, the Ruach HaKadosh, the seal of the living Elohim, who separates us from death unto life, who is separating his people, his called out ones in this season, the true sons of Elohim, the true children of Abraham, separating us to be delivered from the hour of trial and to be brought to Mount Zion and to be giving a song that no one else can sing through belief. Through belief. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Thank you, Master, for your truth, for your unadulterated truth, for your words to your people. Once more, Master, I pray that these words have gone forth as a hammer that shatters, shattering both chain and shackle, shattering hard rock, shattering fallow ground, and making it conducive and fertile to the planting of seed. It is my prayer, Master, that your people are being shaken, are being challenged, that they have an understanding that these are not my words. They are yours. I'm just a dirt beaten down vessel. I have no words of my own. I have no righteousness of my own. I have no wisdom, a learning of my own. I have nothing. Just a beaten down vessel that sits here willingly to allow you to pour into me, to pour into your children. I'm nothing. I pray that they are hearing your words and that they're not looking upon this beaten down vessel, but that they're hearing your words being spoken through this vessel, that are being spoken to save their lives. I pray that these words, Master, are not falling by the wayside. Master, please. Let not these words fall by the wayside. Let not, Master, familiarity be their downfall. Let not these words, Master, fall on shallow soil. And let not these words fall amongst thorns. But let the same anointing that is here, Master, that you've given unto us, manifest where they are. And let the anointing destroy the yoke, destroy every bondage and every bondage and everything that chains and shackles and everything that holds them back from receiving your engrafted word. And let that soil be made fertile and broken and tilled, made conducive to the receiving and the planting of seed, of the word, of the Torah, of this life-giving word. And let your Ruach, the living water, by belief, go forth and water that seed, the spirit of separation, the greater separation, to water that seed, so that that seed grows to become a mighty tree, a fruit-bearing tree, bearing no bad fruit, a fruit-bearing tree, bearing good fruit, so that they become the best of the oil, the best of the wine, the best of the choice fruit, the best of the first that splits the womb. True believers, 144,000 worldwide, so that they are gathered unto your Kadosh mountain, gathered on board your ark to be brought to your Kadosh mountain, to be weighed before you as first fruits, and to be given a song that no one else can sing. In the name of my Master, Yahushua HaMashiach, so be it, so be it, so be it. For those of you who are on YouTube, once again, we're grateful that the Master has sent you our way to spend this Shabbat day, the Shabbat Yom with us. We pray that at this appointed time, in the consummation of the times, that you have that sense of urgency, and that these are not just simply words to you, but that this is bread of life for you, that you're eating, and that you are governing your lives accordingly. Once more, for those of you who are on YouTube, who, if you have a desire to join us live, there's going to be an email address listed in the video description box once this video is uploaded that you may use to contact us if you have a desire to fellowship with YAHUAH'S remnant. And if you have that desire, perhaps you are YAHUAH'S remnant, perhaps you are of the 144,000 true believers who are being separated in this season with the seal of the living Elohim. Until the next time we meet, Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor unto you. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yasharal, and I myself shall barak them. So be it, so be it, so be it. Shalom.